Hello, hello. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani along with Jerry Usher, and this is your show. This is where we take a fresh look at ourselves and the world around us. In this brief hour, we try to kind of fix all the world's problems, change everything, grow a little closer to God. It's all good. The weekend's upon us. This is great. We made it through another week. We're still standing. So everyone, just grab your cool drink or your cup of coffee, sit down with us for an hour. We'd love for you to listen in or participate by calling. Jerry, another week, another wonderful week with our listeners.
Well, you just threw me off, Debbie.
I did.
You said we're one of our goals is to solve all the world's problems. I didn't know that when we started the show, so I think we need to ask for a raise or something. That's a pretty tall order.
That's right. But for today's topic, don't you think we can make a difference if we really do something about it?
We can make a dent. Dear friends, today's topic is trash. Okay, it's litter. As we go through our daily lives, pretty much everywhere we go, you might even see it in your house. Your kids might just finish up a candy bar or a soda and toss the can along the side of the backyard or something. But we definitely see it as we drive along the freeways, just tons and tons of trash. I see people throwing stuff out. You're walking along outside a fast food restaurant, and someone takes, slurps the last bit of that soda down, and there's a trash can 2 feet away, but that's not close enough. So the plastic cup goes on the ground and all of this stuff. And so we want to hear, we're stewards of God's creation. So what is your reaction? How do you feel about the trash, the litter? Are we as a culture desensitized to it? Weigh in on this topic. We'd love to hear from you.
1-800-585-9396. That's the number to dial to be on the show. Or you can text us. You text the letters EWTN to 55000. Wait for a response, put your question in or your comment, and we'll put it into the discussion. Some minor data rates may apply when you do that, but I think it's worth it. So text in if you can't wait on hold for about 5 or maybe 6 or maybe 7 minutes, because we really would love to hear from you, because you definitely drive the show. Jerry, litter bugs me badly. I don't like to see it on the side of highways. I know some people rationalize it by some of the things they toss out the car window is, I guess, biodegradable. But it's still, in my opinion, I just think it's such a disrespect of like what you said, Jerry, that God gave us this beautiful earth. And for us to do that when we have so many convenient ways to get rid of our garbage with recycling bins everywhere. And I know out here in Arizona, we have trash bins like every 10 feet. So there's really no excuse why you walk a little bit longer and just drop your soda can in there or something of that nature. I know it bothers you, Jerry, because I have been with you traveling. And Jerry, sure, I'm going to share with all of our Take Two family, because we're family, Jerry, and we share. You literally, I almost have tripped over you, because you'll stop as we're walking. You'll stop midstream as you're walking and just bend down and pick up trash in the middle of an airport. I've almost tripped over you because you've done that. Now I will tell you.
Maybe it's an OCD thing. I don't know.
Do you think? Well, here's the thing, Jerry.
Maybe.
I really respect you for doing that, but I hope you can understand that since I'm a little bit germ conscious, that kind of bothers me.
I know it does. So seeing the trash bothers me, and seeing me pick up the trash bothers you. So.
Exactly.
Well, here again, folks, 800-585-9396. We're having a little fun with this topic today, but it is a serious one, because God created the earth, and I'll guarantee you when God was finished with creation, it wasn't covered with litter. Empty aluminum cans and plastic bags and all of this stuff. So really, I want to hear from somebody. As a society, as a culture, as a world, are we desensitized to this? Do we just drive along the freeway and see all this trash? And thankfully, sometimes there are work crews out there picking this stuff up. But if it doesn't bother us at least a little bit, I want to know if maybe there's a little desensitization. But here's something else, Debbie. I have not always felt this way that I have about it. I used to be like so many people. I would be driving down the road and finish something up in my car, a fast food burger or something, wrapper, shoot, down goes the window, out goes the wrapper. I mean,
wow.
Earlier in my life, I would litter like everybody else. And I don't know what has accounted for my kind of turnaround in this. I can't say that it's any kind of righteous fervor for the land and for God's creation. I know that's part of it, but maybe it's just a combination of things. But I just really have become, very, very conscious of this, and I just want to hear from others who maybe feel the same way.
Oh, you can spot a gum wrapper from a mile away, Jerry. I've never seen anybody like it. It's like eagle eye. But I really respect you for that. It shows that you do really care, and I think so many of us kind of walk around unconsciously, if you will, and we don't see a lot of things that are happening around us. And littering is definitely a problem. I know that other countries, Jerry, foreign countries have really serious punishments for doing things that are against the countryside. And sometimes I look at that and I think maybe we should have some of those rules in place to kind of keep people in line, to keep people in check, to realize that it is important that we do take care of our surroundings, our creation. Please weigh in on this. This is important. We will weave this into your spirituality. We promise. It always happens because the Holy Spirit is guiding and really helping us shape this show. So with your participation, you could maybe change a person's outlook on things. And that would be a good thing. 1-800-585-9396.
Okay, we got Matt screening your calls today. Jeff Burson is running the controls. Rich Jesse and his wife Laura still in
retreat across the United States. Join these real Catholic men as they ride from the Atlantic coast of Florida to the Pacific coast of
Dr. Ray Guarendi.
Manners aren't just for kids. How do you ask nice? What's the magic word? Parents put a lot of, hey, give me a nice because you put it in a question. How about, please could you get me a cup of coffee? Manners show dignity in relationships.
Okay, so welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Jerry, you threw me off. Now I got to figure out what Rich's and Laura's baby's full name is. Because you said Grace, and
Rose. It's Rose Claire, though.
Rose
you
Claire.
were right, Rose Claire.
Well, when you said Grace, you know how I love Grace. So I'm like, yeah. So I love the name Grace, but Rose Claire. Okay, we got it. So, and they are enjoying their beautiful baby. And Rich posted pictures of his new baby girl on Facebook, and boy, is she just beautiful. I just love new babies. I just love them. They have such a beautiful, innocent look on their faces when they are born, and then they grow up. Okay.
And some of them litter.
True, very true. Okay, so Matt is doing a great job answering your calls right now and getting everybody ready, but Julie is ready, and she came in very quickly. Thanks, Julie, for coming in so quick on Take Two, because phone lines do fill up. You're calling in from Virginia, and you're listening on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Julie. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, Debbie. Hi, Jerry. Yes,
Hi, Julie.
My husband Mark and I are enjoying your program as we do every day, Monday through
Oh,
Friday.
thanks. You're so
Thank
kind.
you.
I just called in because I had remembered that, my husband grew up in the late 50s, 60s. I grew up mainly in the 60s. But it was really engraved in your psyche to keep America clean, beautiful. And there were commercials by the hundreds all the time about keeping America beautiful. And it was really started when President Johnson was in office, and his wife, Lady Bird Johnson, started the campaign, I believe, and she was doing beautiful things along the highways and freeways and beltways at the time with flowers and everything about making the environment more beautiful. But also everywhere you went, there were reminders. You could have gone to a park, or even in the city, there were trash bins that said, "Don't be a litter bug." And I know in junior high, it was really impressed upon us, especially when it started in 1969. I was in 7th grade, and it was the first Earth Day, and about keeping the environment, taking care of the environment, and having a special love for the earth. And when you brought it up, I just remembered all these things.
Well, you've got great memory, Julie, there, and Debbie and I are nodding and recalling many of these things in our minds as well. And this is great. I mean, it's in a way, it's unfortunate that we had to be reminded with these ad campaigns and all of these messages and so forth. But that's human nature,
Oh, yeah.
and so and that's okay. But in addition to what you're talking about, Julie, we see signs all the time. They're signs up wherever there are trash cans. You go to rest areas, they point you right to them. And so, I mean, we're just walked right to the place where we could put the garbage. And sometimes, I don't know if it's laziness or just a lack of concern for the earth. But, Deb, what do you think? I mean, sometimes we just don't take those extra couple feet and do the right thing.
Yeah, I think people walk around and respond unconsciously sometimes. I often I nicknamed it. We did actually a show on it, Jerry, called Mall People. It's just these zombie-like actions that folks do. It's no disrespect, no criticism. I've been there myself. You have a lot on your mind. Things are happening. You're just kind of wandering, doing things and not really thinking. And Julie, I really agree with you. We should have like these ad campaigns again to really start making people mindful that what they do has a consequence for all of us.
Yes. As they say, no man is an island. You're not by yourself. You're other
That's
people.
right.
And my husband and I live in an area which is known as a planned community, and we pay for the upkeep of the community every year, a couple $1,000s. And I know one time I confronted a young man. He was at one of the shopping plazas, and he did that. He just threw something out of the window. And at the stop sign, I got out of the car and went up to him. I said, "Excuse me, I have to pay for the upkeep of this area."
Wow,
and
that
he
was
just littered.
Yeah.
He wasn't even from here. He told me, "I don't live here,"
Oh,
and drove off.
Well, that reminds me of something. I have never had the guts to do it, but I've thought about it so many times. When I see someone just a few feet away from me and they just blatantly throw something on the ground, some trash, I'd love to walk up to them, pick up the trash, and say, "Excuse me, I'm sorry, pardon me, you dropped something."
yeah. Kelly, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi. I just wanted to point out a couple things, how, we're such a materialistic culture and, consumerism drives our culture. And, you can talk about litter, just throwing out a piece of paper or that kind of stuff, we recycle, but people don't understand that some of our recycle is just sent after China sends up their products to us in a big ship. We put all these recyclables in the ships to go back to China, where they sort it and do something with it. So, you might feel good that you're recycling, but if you're over-consuming, people are getting a quick bit of alcohol while they're driving.
You mean those little couple inch bottles of alcohol?
Single shot glasses you get on airplanes.
Bottles.
Oh,
So
wow.
People might be, having their little secret alcohol as they're driving and home and whatever.
Especially at the stores, for a lot of us to use shopping bags that we reuse instead
Reusable,
of reusable shopping bags. I know you have that too, Jerry, where you live. And so there's a lot of effort to get people to be more conscious of the environment and what it means when they decide they want something. What is it going to do for the rest of us? But I'll tell you, I think it's an ongoing uphill battle, because it's something that we either have to really address on a regular basis and constantly, or people just tend to get into their zone and get into their own world and they forget about it. So, Jerry, I don't know if you or Kelly can impart to all of us ways that we can make this a global initiative, a global effort.
Well, I just love the point that you brought up, Kelly. The greed, and this. We did a show, Debbie and I, some time back, called the love of money, and we just discussed some of the things that are done simply because it's profitable, but there isn't a concern for the consequences. And so I think this may be one of those areas where we're seeing that. And unfortunately, it starts with me. What does St. Francis say? Let there be peace on earth. Let it begin with me. Well, let there be a clean earth. Let it begin with me. But you're right, Kelly. It does go up the food chain, and so it can seem overwhelming. It can seem like what can we do? What can just little old me do about this? And I think that's what we're trying to have a conversation about today. So, what do you think, Kelly?
I think that we live in a disposable society where we just want things and new. We want to change, and we want something different, and we want to keep entertaining ourselves with stuff. Mm-hmm. And then we'll just throw away what we had for a little while because we need like this, and then it's just gonna, it's kind of seeking consumerism for entertainment and to feel good, but we don't think about where it goes after we throw it away because we had it for a little while. Or even if we donate it, we feel like that's, we did something good. But some of these donation centers are overwhelmed with just stuff they don't know what to do with. So I think we just have to be more conscientious about,
Right.
This temporary stuff thing that we all, tap into and, take care of things and let them last longer and not seek consumerism for our little kick or little joy,
Right. Isn't it interesting?
Seek relationships.
Kelly, what you said is so interesting. You talked about those alcohol bottles that your friends found. That was the most that was thrown out of car windows on the highway. And I'm thinking to myself, and then you just shared about how we're a throwaway society, which I completely agree with. But here's the thing: we surround ourselves with all this stuff to try and make us happy. And what does Saint Augustine say? Our hearts are restless until they rest in you. And we are never going to be happy with this stuff. So of course we're going to throw it away and go for the next thing, when really what we're longing for is God. See, we just weaved it into our spirituality. and if we longed for God,
handy but messy. But for the most part, we wouldn't litter and throw trash and other stuff around in our homes. Well, who are we as the people of God? We are God's family. The earth is our home. He created it for us. Our minds and our consciences, do we just look the other way? Do we feel overwhelmed sometimes? Like you look at all the trash and you think, I'd love to do something about this, but man, it's just way more than I can handle by myself. Or are you involved in efforts maybe to clean up your neighborhood? And especially if you have kids, how do you teach them the importance of really being good stewards of the earth, of God's creation? 1-800-585-9396. We're going to, let me see here. I got to get
Mary.
close here. Plainwell, Michigan. Mary is listening on the TuneIn Radio app. Mary, we're glad you're with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi.
Hi, Jerry and Debbie. How are you today?
Better now that you called, Mary.
Oh, you're a charmer. Hey, I remember, I'm 56, and I remember when I was a kid, there was this marvelous commercial with a Native American man, like a chief, and he was on a canoe paddling, and there was trash in the water and all that stuff, and then the commercial ends with a little tear going down his eye. Do you guys remember that? Are you old enough to remember that?
Oh yes, Mary.
You and I are the same age, Mary, so I remember it well.
There you go.
Yep.
So and I'm not a big fan of government, telling me what to do. Honestly, it's so annoying. But in this case, I thought it was really good, and I've always been a litter picker-upper. And my husband gets after me because he's a little bit of a germaphobe like you, Debbie. But I pick it up because my mother-in-law told me when she was picking up toilet paper off the floor in the bathroom, I said, "Oh, don't do that." And she goes, "Well, you can always wash your hands. Now, come on." So, I'm a believer in you leave a place better than you found it, and that on the macro and the micro. So I think I just think it's very important, and it's a way to show gratitude to God. And I just think, there's just, I agree with the last lady. I'm not a big environmentalist. I mean, I think that the whole global warming stuff has done actually harm because it makes people more, I don't know, stubborn about it. But I mean, it's important to take care of the earth that we have and the world that we have, and we have to start, right with us. And I think it's very important. It's just a pride in your community and in your neighborhood and in the world. I think it's very important. It's a good pride, you know what I mean? So I've always been a trash picker-upper, and I highly recommend it.
Well, Mary, you can tell it's Friday for me because all I'm having is this vision of you and Jerry in the airport with your luggage and both of you on the ground picking up garbage.
And Debbie with her 5-gallon pump bottle of hand sanitizer walking behind us.
Following behind. Hey, you're a good match. That's right. But, and I think I've even known I go out walking a lot, 4 or 5 miles, and if I walk over a piece of trash, I invariably go back and get it because I feel so guilty I have to go back and get it. You know what I mean? It's silly. So I like to, if I remember, I take a bag with me and just pick up whatever I can find and throw it in the trash can. At least I've done what I can for that day. Sometimes
Yeah.
there's so much that you can't pick
You're
it up all.
you're a
so.
good woman, Mary. You're a really good
Oh,
woman.
I don't know. Not in every regard. Only God is good, but I try. I try to do my part, I guess is
Well-
a good way. And teach my grandkids the same way. And I always tell them, hey, my van is not a trash can, so clean it up. Leave it better than you found it, please. And that's
Well,
Mommy's part, too.
I would just have a comment, Mary, on what you said. You kind of offered a disclaimer. I'm not really a big environmentalist. I say the same thing, too, and we all do. And I think the reason I do, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, is because you do have what, some people are just become so obsessed with environmentalism, and it's done apart from God. It's just sort of this
Right.
almost a pantheistic, like the earth is our mother, and so I think sometimes we want to distance ourselves from that, but realistically, we are the original environmentalists.
That's right.
Because, like I said before, God created the earth, He gave it to us, and He said, be stewards of it. And so, Mary, I agree with you, and you made some great points there, and I really appreciate you joining us on the program. Debbie, go ahead.
And I wrote it down. I said, because Mary said, leave it better than you found it. Did I get that correct, Mary? I love that.
Yeah, that's an old Girl Scout motto, And when
I
Girl
wasn't a
Scouts
Girl Scout. That's the problem.
and when Girl Scouts was good back in the day, not that there are some pockets I don't mean to criticize,
right.
but yeah.
Well,
So,
thank
yeah.
you, Mary. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Thanks for listening to Take Two. And see, we're learning and we're growing. Leave it better than you found it. That's what we're talking about today, about our God's creation. Stay with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Encounter with Dan Demate and Patrick Rice.
The Holy Spirit is about a new and exciting work in the church of today. On Encounter, we bring young adults the life-changing testimonies of ordinary people that launch them into lives of extraordinary mission, bringing heaven down to earth. Activate the power of God in your spiritual life on Encounter.
Encounter with Dan Demate and Patrick Rice. Debuts Saturday, July 29th, 8 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
We need Catholic radio because we need the voice of the church in the public forum. We live in a time that the secular voice dominates so thoroughly that we need to get that Catholic perspective out. Just as Fulton Sheen used radio and TV in the last century, we need to continue to use. This means to announce the Catholic faith in the public forum. Bishop Robert Barron thinks Catholic radio is important. So should you.
Hello, this is Father Scott Daniels of Priests for Life with a pro-life update. The 9th and 10th commandments forbid us to covet what belongs to our neighbor, whether it be his spouse or his possessions. This commandment, in other words, requires us to limit our desires by respecting the boundaries between what is ours and what isn't. That is a sacred boundary that is completely shattered by abortion. The boundary between what is the mother's and what is the child's completely disappears. Some, for instance, will justify abortion because the mother has to get on with her life, but so does the child. Some will justify it because the mother has freedom not to be burdened, but so does the child. And in denying that the child has the same freedom she claims to have, she destroys the meaning and foundation of her own. This is Father Scott Daniels on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Bringing the week to an end, at least for Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, although I should mention that the show re-airs at midnight Eastern Time on many of these same affiliates. Thank you, affiliates, for carrying the program.
Yes.
If you listen any other way, online, on an app, Facebook, YouTube, and you want to hear it on your local AM or FM station, and they've got something else there, don't hassle them, but maybe call them and say, hey, there's this show that you might want to consider putting on at noon Eastern Time, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we would love to be on more and more affiliates. I wanted to mention, Debbie, I went to Mass this morning, and there were some prayer intentions that came through on the prayer wall yesterday that were very, very heavy. And so I just want to assure every one of you who are listening, a part of the Jerry and Debbie, the Take Two family, you can go to jerryanddebbie.com, click on the prayer wall, any intention that you have, post it there. We reply personally to everyone in as timely a manner as we can. But we pray every day for you and your intentions. All right, Debbie and I are not special. We're not holy. But we pray because we ask you to pray. And we wouldn't ask you to do something we don't do. So I offer my Mass intention. Debbie, I know you're constantly praying rosaries and stuff. So I just wanted to put that out there because we are honored. We have no radio show until you turn your radio on. So you are inviting us into your life, into your home, into your cars. So it's a privilege for us, and we want to really honor and respect that. So one of the most, really, I think, beautiful things we can hopefully try and do by God's grace is to offer prayers for you. So anyway, that was on my heart. I wanted to share.
And Jerry, you and I talk about it all the time. We truly, deeply believe in the power of prayer. And the more we can stress that, the more we hope that others join with us. And then we can have those praise God prayers. We can journey together. So I agree with you, Jerry. By the way, don't we air the best of on Saturday too?
That's right. Yeah, at noon Eastern on Saturday.
Very exciting. So we're 6 days a week. And
That's
then
right.
Sunday we rest. Okay.
And podcasting and archives. Yeah, you could be 24/7 Take Two with Jerry and Debbie if you want. Your family, your spouse might not like it, but
Yeah, that's kind of scary, but good, I guess. Okay. Okay, Liz, you have been waiting so patiently. Liz, you got our Virtual Patience Award in California listening on the EWTN app. Don't giggle, Liz. I mean, Liz,
Hi, Liz.
come on. It's a virtual award.
Hi.
Isn't it cool?
Oh, yeah, love it. Thank you for taking my call. I just had this incident that happened that I thought was very funny. I was at school picking up my high schooler, and there was this boy who had his car. He was getting all ready to go, and he proceeded to take everything, every trash piece out of his car and put it in the parking lot on the ground. And it was funny because he had a climate change sticker on his car, which I thought was very, very funny. And so I got out of the car. I was waiting for my son. I got out of the car and I went up to him. I said, "Excuse me, I don't know if you realize, but you left your trash on the ground." And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, this is a school. Somebody's got to." He goes, "Oh, they have janitors." And I said, "Oh, wow. Yeah, you need to pick that up and throw it away. There's a trash can right over there." And so he did, and he, of course, gave me a dirty look. But I was cracking up because I thought, wow, I don't know if that bumper sticker was his, but it was somebody in his family, and that wouldn't have been a good situation if his parents had seen that. But I just think that people, maybe they just don't see what they're doing or realize that, even if they think they're giving someone else a job, that they're being paid for it. And if they didn't leave their trash, this person wouldn't have a job, I guess. It's very funny. I get that a lot because I volunteer at schools and I work at a school, and the kids will say, "Oh, well, if we don't leave the trash, then this person won't have a job."
Oh, I've actually heard that. Yeah, I've heard that in grocery stores. Have you ever heard that when people don't put their cans back on the right shelf? They'll say, "Well, somebody needs a job. The stockers need to stock." I've never. That to me is mind-boggling. By the way, Liz, I just have to say, you do have an adorable giggle. I keep it because it's very. I don't know if you say the word infectious, contagious, but it just makes me want to giggle too. So if I'm ever down, call me.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
What do you think, Jared?
I'm just thinking of the lesson that might have imparted to that young student, Liz. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they might have taken that away, and maybe that'll be the seed of something that will flower, and maybe they'll remember that? What do you think? Have you thought about that?
I'm not sure, but I've been told before that I'm a little bossy, so maybe I came across as very bossy. But I just thought, you know what? Somebody's got to tell somebody about this, because if we all just let everybody contribute to the trash on the ground. And I am not an environmentalist. I don't believe in climate change, that sort of thing, that people are causing it. But I do think I grew up at the same time as the other caller with the Native American crying and the litter bug and all that sort of stuff. And I always think, I'm not going to be a part of this trash problem because I don't like to look at it. And I think we do have an obligation to take care of our world as best we can, whether it be recycling, picking up trash, that sort of thing. But, when you claim that you care about the earth and then you contribute to the trash, that's very hypocritical. And so, I don't know, I just thought I'm going to put in my 2 cents for that person, and hopefully it will have an impact down the road, maybe.
I think that's great. I give you a round of applause for your courage, because I think we do need to need to hold each other accountable, and we can do it in a nice way. We can do it. I mean, like Jerry, like even what you said, Jerry, when you said you can almost pretend like, oh, did you drop this, or you can get creative on how you challenge others to take responsibility. I think that you use the word obligation. I love that, because I think unfortunately, some of our younger folks who didn't grow up with those commercials that we saw and stuff, they may not feel like they have an obligation to take care of the earth, and they really do, because it's their home, it's their future. We're all going to be gone soon, so right, Jerry?
Yeah, and Liz, to your point about these students and so many other, I'm sure adults, a lot of people have the mindset of, well, I'm keeping somebody employed by littering. I look at it just the opposite, quite frankly. Especially, I'll just use the airport as an example. You see these men and women pushing the trash cans through the airport, picking litter up, wiping things down, cleaning the toilets and all this. And I pray for them all the time. I think, wow, they're doing a job that very few people would want to do. And it's messy and it's dirty and it can be degrading and humiliating. It can be empowering too, because they have a job, they're working, labor is given to us by God and all of that. But Debbie, I look at the people who have to do these jobs, and that's one of the reasons I pick litter up. When I do, in fact, every time I pick up litter, I say, Lord, I do this for your greater glory. And when I'm doing it in a place where I know someone's going to have to be picking it up, I offer a prayer for that person. So it's a skewed way of looking at it, and I think it's a very unfair way of looking at it to say, well, I'm just making somebody's job better by making sure they have a job by throwing my trash on the ground. So anyway, that's another thought.
Liz, you brought up great points, and I'd see this is why we love doing topics like this, because it lets us kind of just have those discussions that we're not normally going to have in day-to-day life. So thank you, Liz. God bless you for your call. Thank you. Have a beautiful day in California. We appreciate it, and thanks for listening to Take Two. Jerry, I knew you were a good person, so you say a prayer even after you pick up the trash. Now you're really making me feel guilty. Okay, I'll put away the hand sanitizer, and I'll try to pick up trash in the airport like you do. I'll try. I can't promise you.
Well, while you take the next call, I'm going to go buff my halo a little bit, okay? I'm going to shine up my halo because I'm so good and holy.
Oh, my goodness. You are hilarious. Okay, so Ron, hang on. Don't leave us. Joseph has just got in just a little bit ahead of you, so we're going to take his call in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Hi, Joseph. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Or just Debbie, because Jerry's buffing his halo.
I'm done.
Hey, Debbie.
Okay. Hi, Joseph.
It's a small halo.
Small halo? I got a lot.
Yeah.
You can buff it nice and shiny. I got a lot to comment on. I was big on the Indians, chief of the Indians. Agree with all the callers there. And the Boy Scouts. When we left the campsite, our Boy Scout master, you didn't leave even a piece of a quarter by quarter inch of paper on the ground. It was spots. And the big thing is, there's so much plastics in styrofoam that's not recyclable in a good way. It's not. I mean, sure, I reuse my plastic containers as much as possible instead of buying Tupperware, but I would like to see more go to a renewable cycle, such as wood. Cardboard, wax cardboard, and all that. You should always get milk cartons in that, and then that is. It's a renewable subject instead of like plastics, which come out of mainly oils and stuff. And we have PCPs in polar bears, and this was years back, 10, 20 years ago, it's showing up in them already. Technology is so advanced that I think if we could get the cost of plastics and everything is so high, you think there'd be a cheaper way to packaging, and not so much packaging. I unwrapped something the other day I got a part in. It was in 3 boxes, plus a bunch of styrofoam, everything else.
Right.
But it's always best that we use your stuff to the best advantage, is what I try to do, so I don't even throw much away. I'm a pack rat. But the ocean levels, they're complaining about ocean levels. I remember, we wasn't worried about global warming back when I was a kid. We were worried about the sunspots and global cooling. Nowadays, I think a lot of the ocean's level is because we dump so much in it. Barges. They sink old barges out in the sea, fill them full of stuff, and it's a junk barge. They'll just sink it, And then the icebergs and stuff are melting. However, the displacement of water, the iceberg, it actually comes out of the water more, so the displacement of it's not being raised by the icebergs, in other words, the glaciers. It's, what I read is it kind of just replaces, because the buoyancy of the iceberg comes up and leaves the water melt off, and most of the land glaciers back in the day, the oceans have risen up approximately 100 foot before, right after Ice Age, when there was a lot of ice covering the continents. Well, now our ice that melts on the continents, it doesn't, it just goes dry ground because it has so much warming and whatnot. But basically, I'm kind of I'm very big from my environmentalist, but you just don't see technology using what we know to its best advantage, is the way I see it.
Yeah, and Joseph, you've brought up a lot of very pertinent points and important points here. And one thing that stuck with me as you were talking, as you mentioned the oceans and our waterways, and we had that the commercial that was mentioned, the ad about the Indian with the tear, and I've seen other ones, I think, where they have, or maybe it's TV shows, they pull the little ducks or ducklings out of the water. They've got, remember those plastic, Debbie, those plastic 6-pack
the
rings that they used to have, and they'd be wrapped all in that, and they couldn't even move. And yeah, so this has effects all over the place, not to mention what it's putting into our water, the chemicals and so forth. And we should do a whole show about that, just how that's altering human bodies and our health and physiology and all of that. Mm-hmm. So I think Joseph really nailed a bunch of stuff there.
Yeah, Joseph, you sound like a kind soul, and I love that about you, because you do care, and this is a global problem, and I agree with Jerry, though. We can only start with ourselves. That is so biblical, and if we just can be aware and be responsible and have that sense that we do have this obligation to take care of the earth, maybe we can make those changes, and it'll just keep growing. So thank you, Joseph, so very much for your call. Thanks for waiting. You waited a long time, and we appreciate that. And talking about making aware, Jerry, or creating awareness, we need to spread Catholic Radio, EWTN, everywhere. We need to just spread it, and we have enlisted wonderful volunteers, media missionaries, to do so. And I just want to put that call out there. If you want to be a media missionary and spread the word that EWTN is going alive and strong in the hearts and minds and souls of many, many, many folks, then join the team. Be a media missionary and get the word out in your community. All you got to do is visit EWTNmissionaries.com today and check it out and see if it's something you want to do. If you have a voice, you want to get out there, make a difference and share with people that EWTN exists. I was at a function last night, Jerry, and there was a bunch of Catholics, and they didn't even know that they had EWTN on TV here in Arizona, and they didn't even realize it. They didn't know about the radio station, and it was amazing to me, because I'm thinking, how can you be, how could you be Catholic and not know about EWTN?
Awesome. EWTNmissionaries.com. Okay, Ron, you at least get a share of the Virtual Patients Award. Maybe you wrestled it away from Liz. I'm not sure. But Ron is driving through Massachusetts listening on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Ron. Glad to have you with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Oh, my pleasure. I want to bring up a different viewpoint, okay? I live in probably the most liberal state in the country, and I interface with quite a few people who are extremely left. And we as Catholics have to be careful about a couple of things, because they're seizing on the environmental movement. They're seizing on the global warming, which, by the way, I don't believe, not based on my own opinions, but because I have been able to do some research. I'm in a unique position to talk to people who have a counter view, and their counter view is quite interesting. I mean, and it's based on science. But these people use, especially our senators here, the environmental movement is a way of saying that the population needs to be culled, that we have too many people, that abortion is one of the ways to combat the polluting of the earth. And this, as you can see from what's happening in England with that child, that the government is determining, that too much resources will be used on them.
Charlie Gard.
I think as a Catholic, we have to be kind of careful where this will be taken. We mean well, and I think in protection of the environment is absolute. I don't even allow live trees to be cut down on my property. But we have to understand that this is a vehicle for some people, and they're using it. And I'm not sure how you address that.
Well, Ron, first of all, I think education is the important thing here because, I know that a lot of these people don't come from a faith-based foundation. So having recourse to Scripture, in fact, the earliest verses in Scripture, some of them, what does God say? Be fruitful and multiply, and God made man stewards over all the earth. I have done a little bit of study on this. I've hosted shows with guests that I have been told, if I recall correctly, this is a number of years ago, the entire population of the world could fit in the state of Texas, and everybody would have about 1,200 square feet all to their own. So we know that the overpopulation is a total myth. I mean, if you ever, Debbie and I fly across this country, what do they call them, the flyover states, Debbie? I mean, I look down there and I'm thinking, there's room for a few more people.
There's a lot of land, yeah.
But this is Debbie, it's agenda-driven, and we have to be informed and educated. And I love the fact that Ron is doing that. Ron is not just laying down and hearing these arguments and going, oh, wow, okay, gosh, yeah, right. we have to board our baby. Yeah, we have to. Ron is looking into this, and he's understanding and I'm sure in turn presenting the counter arguments to this. But that's what we have to do, I think.
Well, yeah, and Ron, real quickly, Jerry said it's agenda driven. It's also emotionally charged and without a lot of facts. And I love how you said you did your research and have some counter arguments based on science, because I believe that's part of the issue, or the majority of the issue, is that people don't go with facts. They just go with the loudest voices out there, and the loudest voices are not always correct. They must go into the facts. It sounds like you agree with that, Ron.
I absolutely do, and the problem I have is that there are many Catholics who support this over and above the church. And I'm going to say something now, which I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus. I work in my parish. I think the Pope has to be careful about some of the things regarding accepting, because a lot of, and I disagree with some of the things he's doing. I agree with others, because I can attest to the fact that if these people get in power, they're going to sell the majority of the American public on the fact that abortion is an absolute necessity. I agree with you. I live in New England, just as a sidelight, and then I'm going to stop. We have more unused land than we have occupied, and there are more trees now than there were 100 years ago, because whereas a farming family had to use 40 to 80 acres to produce, and they would cut everything down, New Hampshire was practically barren. So I agree with you, but they are not going to listen. And applying to faith, I don't even think will work with many Catholics that I rub shoulders with. So I have I have no answers. That's it.
Well, it sounds like I would disagree with you, Ron. It sounds like you do have answers. You're a very articulate man, and this is what we love about this show, Debbie. Is Ron, you call in and you share, and as I said before, you're not just passively, digesting or ingesting the party line that's out there, even among many Catholics. Let's be honest about that. There are a lot of Catholics who just blindly listen to the secular media and the politicians and all this stuff. And again, it goes back to it's agenda-driven, and there's huge money in abortion, there's huge money in global warming and all of this stuff. And those topics are for another conversation, Debbie, but I think Ron has really added a lot to the conversation today.
I agree, Ron. You really, I think you might have instilled in a lot of hearts just to really get to the facts and ask the right questions and be prudent in our decisions that we make. And Ron, way to go. I think you hit a home run with me anyway. I really enjoyed your call, and I benefited from it. So thank you, Ron, very, very much.
Yeah, for sure.
Cindy, we've only got a few minutes, so we're going to try to get to you. Jerry always likes to do this. I don't know why it makes my heart race, but okay, we're going to try. Is that Montana, Jerry?
Florence, Montana.
Montana.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, I had to follow Ron. I don't know.
You're up to it.
Guys. I just have a quick story. We moved, like Debbie, I grew up in New Jersey, and we moved to Montana 17 years ago, and we're living in a beautiful log cabin, and we border Montana State Forest and National Forest. And my husband's a hunter, and he could literally go out the front door, turn to his right, jump the fence, and be hunting on the property over there on the other side. So every September or so, he'll go out there and check for sign, scrapes on trees. And he takes a garbage bag with him and picks up any kind of papers or cans that he sees from previous hunters or people that have been hiking. And one year, several years ago, he went in and he looked to his right and he sees something red, which is unusual in brown and green forest. And it's a whole front seat of a pickup truck there, along with all these garbage bags. So he calls his friends from the State Forestry Service, and they go in with him, and they start opening these bags, and they have all kinds of, the person's address right in there. And it turns out that we have transfer stations out here in Montana where you dump your big garbage items like that, seats and trucks and stuff like that. And a young man's mother had told him, put this in the back of your pickup truck, please, and drive it 20 minutes down to the transfer station and all the garbage bags. And I guess he didn't feel like going down that way and decided to come up the hill. He was like a neighbor. He basically lived down at the bottom of the mountain here, decided to come up the hill, drive his pickup truck through a path that was just basically for a walking path, and just dumped everything in the middle of the woods thinking no one would ever see it. Broke my husband's heart, because when you think about it, you wouldn't suspect this kind of garbage in the middle of a beautiful forest that we have here. Montana is such a beautiful state. And it just, in my mind, it goes back to this relativism where, if I think it's okay to go ahead and do something in my mind, then I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And, with no regard to anybody else who may have to come in there and enjoy that, or any kind of pollution it may leak out into the water or to the ground for the animals that are in there. And I think our young people, it goes back to Liz and the parking lot there in California. I think our young people, they're very excited about all their causes, but they just don't realize exactly what their causes entail,
Right.
Cindy, I would have to bet, you may or may not agree, I think you might, and we're running short on time here, so I'm just going to make this quick comment. I would bet that all of that stuff that your husband found was probably somebody drove up there purposely just to dump it. I'm so proud of people who hunt and hike and camp and all that. What do they say? Pack it in, pack it out. And Debbie, they're the some of the most conscientious people around. I mean, they want to really preserve the pristine beauty of God's nature, whether they see it, through faith eyes or not. They just realize the importance of doing that. So I would bet that it was people who just purposely said, hey, where can I get to a remote place and dump this stuff and get rid of it? Maybe I'm wrong about that, but anyway.
Well, Cindy, thank you. I'm so glad we got to your call, and we just love that you called in. And John from Traverse City, Michigan, sorry we couldn't get to you, but you have an interesting comment, John. Would you email us at take2, the number 2, at EWTN.com. Monday show, we're talking about wearing your heart on your sleeve. Is that what we're talking about? Emotions on your sleeve?
Yeah, are you comfortable showing emotions? I just wanted to mention, Melissa, thanks for your comment on Facebook. Margie in East Texas says she saw 2 young women throwing trash bags out of their cars near the seawall and she threw the bags back into their convertible as they drove off. So,
Ooh.
Margie, you're gutsy.
And then she ran. Oh, dear listeners, you did it again. Have a beautiful and blessed weekend. We'll see you real soon.